to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I pledge allegiance to the flag of Michigan and to the state for which it stands, to the beautiful peninsulas, united by a religious seal, for equal opportunity and justice to all, is our ideal.
Sandy, could we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Malama, Shippers, Spolman,
Here.
Stevens, here. Mayor Filkins.
Here. And at this time, we're going to look for an approval of the agenda, but I see that we have an amendment.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and members of the City Council. This evening we are asking to amend the agenda to add a FOIA appeal as a new item under 7 after the City Manager's report. Wanted to also just very briefly mention to the City Council that this evening we will be happy to take any input that we may have from the appellant themselves tonight, but we'll be bringing this back on the 19th for final action.
Okay.
So.
Making a motion to approve the agenda as amended with the addition of a FOIA appeal under the City Manager's report.
Support.
Sandy, could we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Shippers, Spolman,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Malama, Mayor Filkins.
Yes. At this time, we'll open the floor for public comment. We do ask that you keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. And when you come to the podium, if you would please say your name and then also write down your name and address for Sandy. It's very helpful.
Hi, I'm Sue Malama. I'm here to express displeasure with some things. And before I do address concerns, I want to take an opportunity to wish the Cadillac High School students a wonderful week of homecoming festivities. Homecoming is always a very special time for the students, but also for our entire community. And this year is going to be especially exciting. Marcus, I want to specifically address you now. You are the appointing officer with regards to offering the Chief of Police position to a candidate. This process has been ongoing for 2 years with no deadline date. At the last meeting, Councilmember Malama shared his deep concerns about the process. A week ago Thursday, he followed up with a letter to the other 4 council members requesting a joint meeting with the Civil Service Commission. Mayor Filkins acknowledged receipt of that letter. You were carbon copied the letter. The next day I delivered a letter to the City Hall requesting a meeting with the Civil Service Commission signed by concerned citizens, as Mayor Filkins had advised at the close of the last City Council meeting. Knowing that City Council member Malama on Thursday requested a meeting and concerned citizens on Friday requested a meeting, you put out a news release Friday afternoon announcing that the Chief of Police position was being offered to Todd Golnick. What a lack of respect for one of your own council members and for concerned citizens. What was your hurry, Marcus? There was no deadline to meet, but there certainly was a display of concern. I suggest that you had an agenda that was slipping away. Otherwise, you would certainly have wanted to address everyone's concerns so as to erase any cloud of doubt. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, council members and city officials. My name is Kathleen Mary Williams. I live in Cadillac at 1240 Moyer Street. Some time ago in January of 2014, I think I suggested 3 things would occur following the very unethical election. Number 1, Mr. Blackburn would resume his position on Civil Service Board. Number 2, Mr. Golnick would be promoted to Chief of Police. If Mrs. Filkins had recused herself, as she should have, because she was too involved with both issues, the outcome would have most likely been different. shame, shame. My third suggestion theory was that Mr. Homier would be replaced by a local law firm. However, Mr. Homier did a complete 360-degree turnaround, probably to secure his job, to join what appeared to be the winning team. Now, 3 votes succeeded in removing the ethics ordinance, another maneuver where Mrs. Falcon should have recused herself. Is the next move going to be a removal of the 3-minute public comment under the guise of suggesting that one-on-one members could converse with council or city officials, who then would have all the power to refuse audience at his or her discretion? Another way to silence the Cadillac constituents. Why is a 2/3 majority vote not required for matters such as a police chief or the ethics committee? Now, since the description of the word dictator is defined as sole power by one person, entity, or small group in Webster's dictionary, I will leave it up to the public to decide if we in our city government in Cadillac are under a type of dictatorship. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, City Manager Marcus, Mrs. Stevens, Mayor Filkins, Ms. Sloman. I just want to thank you all for what you do. I'm very grateful for being in this community. We've been here about 21 years, and I'm very grateful to you all. And on behalf of Rotary, thank you for what you're doing, and we're going to hear more about the Rotary project. So thank you so much on behalf of Rotary. Thank you.
Doreen, could you tell everyone who you are?
Oh, I'm sorry.
And write down your address, please.
Oh, I need to write it down?
Just your address.
Okay. I'm Doreen Lance, without an E, L-A-N-C, and I'm Rotary President this year for 2015-2016.
Hi, I'm Kimberly Mankey. I live here in Cadillac. And in regards to the appeal for the FOIA that you guys received and added to your agenda for tonight, I'm simply asking that the city please provide me with at least the educational qualifications of all the applicants that applied for the police chief, director of law enforcement. Please feel free to remove their names, addresses, and phone numbers, as I don't want the personal information. Just the qualifications of the applicants that you have turned down to select someone with an 8th grade level of education. Thank you.
Seeing no one else, we'll go ahead and close the first public comment.
My name is Michelle Strobel. I'm here tonight because I do have concerns about the newly elected or positioned chief of police. Back in 2013, my son was found dead in our woods here in Cadillac, and there was not only just one investigation but 2. Both of these investigations were led by our now chief of police, Todd Goldnick. At the time then, he was our detective. It's been 21 months now since my son's clear-cut case of suicide was reopened 3 months after they had called it a clear-cut case of suicide. It was opened in December of 2013. Early spring of 2014, I had called to see if there was any progress in my son's case. I was informed by Detective Goldnick at the time that Captain Wolfile had retired, so I had nobody else to to talk to about the case, so I'm talking to Mr. Goltnick, or Todd Goltnick, and he tells me that he's filling the seats of 3 different positions at the time, and that basically he has no officers available or time to investigate my son's death, which they deemed suspicious and reopened it. So I'm left with nobody investigating my son's death. Time is being wasted. My son's case is sitting on somebody's desk. It wasn't until I was getting nowhere that I decided to go public, and I went to Cadillac Evening News, and I announced to the public, which nobody had a clue, that my son's case had been reopened and was supposed to be under investigation. It wasn't until March of 2014 that they were informed of this, as reporters must do some fact-checking their facts, that they then assigned a patrol officer to investigate a suspicious death that possibly could be a homicide. I don't know the qualifications of a patrol officer to investigate a possible homicide, but that's what I have no choice. So then they were displeased with me for going public with this. I was basically cut out. I would think that me as a mother concerned with, trying to find out the truth of what really happened to my son would be working hand in hand with Cadillac PD. I'm not. I've been completely shut out. I'm in the dark. So my next option was to go to his boss. While there is no chief of police and there's no captain, because he sits in both those roles at the time. So who do I have to go to? I addressed Marcus Pecha. I sat down with him and I had a very long conversation with him. I don't understand why our city manager doesn't have, and didn't have at the time, any idea what my son's case was about. He was missing for 2 months. There was a lot of, things that surrounded it, but he didn't know. And he told me he was not the police boss. He couldn't find out anything for me. He didn't know anything, and that he would discuss it with Goltnick and that I would get a call back. That never happened. I then came to another meeting here last summer. I think it was June 15th. I'm not really sure. 2014, and I sat through one of the council meetings, and I walked up to Mr. Pecha after the meeting, and I addressed it again, and I said, I am still not getting any updates regarding my son's case. And I was promised that day, standing right here, that I would get a phone call from either Detective Goltnick or Mr. Pecha himself. I'm still waiting.
Thank you, Mrs. Sturman. Okay, with that, we'll go ahead and close public comment. Okay, this evening we have the minutes from our regular meeting that was held on September 21st to approve, and then we also have the minutes from our closed session from the same day. We have a motion.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Support.
Sandy, could we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Spolman? Yes. Stevens?
Yes.
Malama? Shippers? Mayor Filkins?
Yes. Motion carries. And the next thing that we have on our agenda this evening is our communications.
Yes, we have a request for approval to close Lake Street from Harris to Cass from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. on November 27th for Christmas in the Park.
Talking about Christmas already.
That seems crazy. Whether it'll be here before we know it. I'll make a motion that we approve the request as presented, which would close Lake Street from Harris Street to Cass Street on November 27th, 2015 from 4 to 7 p.m. for the Christmas in the Park.
Support. Do we have a roll call, Sandy?
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Melama? Shippers? Spolman?
Yes.
Mayor Filkins?
Yes. Motion carries. And at this point in the agenda, we have the public hearing.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. I'm passing out a handout from our Fire Marshal, who's going to run through it before you open the floor. Sorry, did I give you enough? Okay. Before you open the floor to any public comment, this is with respect to the Fire Department Cost Recovery Ordinance. As we introduced it the time before, we already had this in place. However, it didn't make the cut, if you will, when we put in place new code updates. And so this is just a bit of housekeeping that we need to do to put them back in place. And
Is this hot off the press?
This is hot off the press.
Same thing.
Did Anthony make it back around? Not yet. Is he right behind you? No. Okay. Well, then I'll run through it.
Okay.
Because I just got this from him.
Just to remind everybody what we still needed to have updated, I think that'd be
Exactly. It's funny. He was right there.
I know, what happened to him?
I grabbed him to grab these. So, when the city implemented the cost recovery for utilities-related incidents, and that was done for the 2009 edition of the Fire Code, which was then amended, and I apologize, I'm not sure if we had an overhead to go along with that, but there was a specific section 113 pertaining to fees that was amended to include a provision that allowed the city to recover its real costs when incurring, real costs that get incurred when we respond to down lines, whether it's an electric line or a cable line. From time to time that does happen, whether it's due to weather incidents or whether it's due to traffic-related incidents, and we are responsible to sit on those lines. In fact, we had a storm earlier, or later this summer I should say, where we had to have fire department personnel out on the scene using even their own vehicles because we had already deployed and we're constantly going on runs. There he is, come on in. And we're already going on runs. And so it's important to be able to recapture those otherwise lost dollars, and that's what this will do. Anthony, I'm on bullet point number 2.
Yes. Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah, like I discussed at the last meeting, basically we're just reinstating what we had before, but we're plugging it in a different area. We're taking it away, we're separating it from the fire code itself, making it its own separate ordinance, so that way it can sit and serve its purpose all by its own. And if you look in the document, I refer to it as a standalone ordinance. With that, there's advantages to it, such as any code updates, any changes, loss of code, or say the state coming in and saying you're going to use this code. It has no bearing on this ordinance whatsoever. It also, and I think this is kind of important too, because where we had it plugged in before was an area specific to, mostly intended for inspection fees and permitting fees. So although it served its purpose where it was plugged in at, it really didn't fit there necessarily. So we're kind of preserving that section of the code for its true intent. So
the other, I think, salient point to make to the City Council is that in adopting the proposed language, it will allow the City Council to make future such changes by resolution, not unlike what we do currently under the Utilities Department for waste and recycling fees.
Good. That'll make it a lot easier.
yeah, well, it should really help simplify things so for the future. So it's unfortunate to have to go through this stuff again, but at the same time, if we've streamlined it as much as we absolutely can, so.
Well, I think we appreciate the work and the eyes that you've put on this, and you've been very thoughtful in how to make it user-friendly moving forward to save someone in the future the kind of work that you've had to go through, so that's great.
And we don't have to amend that resolution. I remember we had to do a resolution to allow us to recover the utility fees, but this wouldn't require us to amend that at all, would it, in terms of, I'm referring to the resolution that we did so that we could, in case of it being consumers or DT Energy, if we send out...
I don't believe so. Because we've already been put on notice and informed of our cost recovery ordinance that we had in place, and this isn't changing the fees. It's already
right.
There, so.
Okay.
Great.
So we need to have a public hearing, right?
Yes. Yes. So thank you, Anthony.
Thank you.
Okay, at this time then, we will open the floor for any public comments during this public hearing in regards to this topic.
This is just something I wondered about on other issues. When you put that in there, it doesn't really tell you what they're going to change it to. Is there some way you can suggest that a little bit? You know, what code are they going from to or whatever? Thank you.
We'll let Anthony answer that for you.
Thank you. As far as, I believe she's referring to where the fees are coming from and how we're deriving them, is that correct?
Right.
Okay, what we did with our fee structure and also the fee structure that it was originally adopted, was originally utilized, is not changing. So we're just reverting back to what we had before up until we had the code update. Our fee structure, we looked at the cost of our personnel, what the actual real cost to the city is for its personnel. We also itemized our equipment and what kind of equipment it has on it to establish a per hour running cost. Because it's not, the purpose of a cost recovery ordinance is not to make money. It's, you know, we're providing a public service to the community, and the purpose of this, specifically the way ours is written, is to make sure that we are able to offset costs that we're incurring when we have a systems failure, such as, in this case, utility stuff. Because I'll be honest, we've had instances where prior to cost recovery, you would go on a utilities-related incident, and a fire department will show up and stand by for it for several hours. I mean, we've sat on utility stuff for 8 to 10 hours before on a holiday with the utility company, and I'm not talking poorly upon any utility company, but when you factor in the cost of the utility company sending 2 members and a vehicle on overtime on a holiday, that's a pretty expensive, or pretty big expense for them. So for us, it's to make sure that, hey, we're not, and I'm not saying we've been taken advantage of or anything with that, but if we're out on a utility instance, yes, we'll give you a first hour, but after that, we need to start charging for this because we're dedicating a lot of equipment to that. Yes.
To be concise, the language in the ordinance as well that really summarizes everything that Anthony just said is that expense of response shall mean charges, costs, and fees incurred by the fire department and individuals operating at the request or direction of the city as a result of making an emergency response. So that's what the invoice will be to the utility companies when they receive, or when we receive such a request to cover a downline.
And this isn't a new practice. This is something that's been used by many departments all over Michigan for a very long time, and it's actually something that started out of state. So we're not reinventing the wheel by any stretch of the imagination. So.
Thank you.
Yep.
You're remarkable.
Okay, seeing no one else, we'll go ahead and close the public comment portion of our public hearing, and we'll move to the council for anything that we may have.
The only thing that I thought would be good to add is I know when we were initially doing this as a resolution, the fact that we weren't going after those fees other areas would get service first, which makes sense. They would wait on us because they didn't have to pay for that time. So this will help hopefully eliminate the longer times, you know, instead of 8 and 10 hour waits, possibly limit down the time. So, because the other area was all, they already had these agreements in place, so they were able to recover those costs.
The meter is running.
Right, but since they didn't have to pay us back for the time, we'd always be at the end of the list. So hopefully it'll help in the future as well, eliminate some of the time frames.
Yeah, I appreciate the way that this ordinance is written, and I think there's been a lot of thought given to it. I was especially pleased to look at the exemptions, you know, so that there will be no charge if it's a false false alarm. There will be no charge for the first hour, and so on. Because that's important, because it also says that the request can be from central dispatch or a direct call to the fire department or a passerby. But, you know, I think they've looked at the whole big enchilada. I appreciate those exemptions.
I make a motion that we approve the resolution as presented, which approves ordinance number 2015-16, which is amending the City Code of Cadillac to provide cost recovery to the City of Cadillac Fire Department.
Sandy, could we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Melama, Shippers, Spolman, Stevens,
Yes.
Mayor Filkins.
Yes, motion carries. The next thing we have on our agenda this evening is the manager's report.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and members of the City Council. The first item under the manager's report this evening is a request for approval regarding bids and recommendation regarding the renovation of the Rotary Performing Arts Pavilion. I am very excited to be here this evening and to be talking about this. This is quite a milestone for our community and the type of project that only comes along you know, after several decades. And so what we're going to have this evening, once I shut up and stop talking, is our project manager, Dean DeCrager from DK Design, walking us through 3 slides that were earmarked out of the construction drawings to kind of show and give us a walkthrough the best that we can of the final design that we sought bids for, that we're looking forward and moving forward with tonight. It's been a long haul. Again, very excited. I am going to be asking for a 5% contingency to be added to the total bid price recommendation this evening, which we did receive a couple of bids, with the recommendation for Orshall Construction being the one this evening that we're looking at moving on. And Dean, if you could come up, we've got the schematics electronically here.
All right.
In the order that they were received. So.
Okay. Let's start with, if we can flip through to the site plan, floor plan. There's more of a site plan.
And you also have in front of you here the copy first. So.
Yeah.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Dean DeCrager with the DK Design Group. First of all, just as a recap, you probably know that this project has been in line and in discussion for a long time. There was...
I have to interrupt because, I'm sorry, I'm going to, you know, refrain myself from dancing up here. And Marcus, you talked about how long you've been waiting for this. I've been waiting for this since before your kids were born.
That being said...
Maybe your youngest.
My youngest?
Yeah.
He's 8.
I'm working on it a long time.
There has been work on and discussion on it for a long time. When the pavilion was originally designed, the park that it sits in had already been there, so there was never really a clear melding between the pavilion and its surrounding park. So that's why this discussion has been going on for a long time. There was, in the last 2 years, a year and a half, I'll call it a task force of community members that got together and discussed a lot of different options on renovating the pavilion, adding to the pavilion, possibly even moving the pavilion. There was discussion, nothing was off the table, but it got tightened back down to what is a reasonable solution, and that's what we have before us. The intent of this is to improve seating and to improve the use of the pavilion based on input from a number of musicians, band directors, people that are using the pavilion on a regular basis. You can see in the site plan before you, one of the primary aspects of that is to clear out the existing seating and create some rounded walls, more of a amphitheater effect. They are tiered. We are creating some walls at each of those tiers that can serve as seating where people can actually sit on the concrete walls, or there is space for people yet to bring their own lawn chairs. We wanted to be as flexible as possible for all types of users. We tried to improve the sight lines and make it as usable as possible. As part of the renovation to the pavilion itself, if maybe you can flip to the floor plan. There you go. We are also adding on to the pavilion itself on each side. We are creating some changing rooms and spaces that can allow for performers as they enter to, again, change. If it's a wedding, a staging area to come onto the stage, the platform. We're also removing the multiple steps in the pavilion and creating one level that is about 16 inches up. If you flip to the elevation, please. Thank you. The intent is to add these wings to the, I'll say, the north and south, more or less, sides. As we cannot exactly match the brick that is there, we'll be using a complementary ground face block, a masonry product. Our roof will match and it'll tuck up under the existing overhang. Overall, between input from the community, input from staff, our input, we believe we came up with a solution that is going to work very well. The intent of this is to start this construction, some of the earthwork yet this fall. Either way, the intent is that the contract will require Orschel construction to be done with this project so that it can be used by Memorial Day next year. So, with that, any questions?
I did have a quick one. By looking at the drawing, where the railroad crossing is in the road, is this the actual pavilion? Is anything changing on those?
No, we had looked at multiple different places, and we were actually going to cross the tracks at different spots. However, in meeting with MDOT, the discussion was that was going to be very cost prohibitive, and instead of affecting where those locations were, we left the crossing where it was and adjusted it to tie in to the design.
Perfect. So it wasn't really easy to tell here, so nothing's happening with the road at all. It's everything on
the road itself. Yeah. No, the road is not being changed at this point, and the location where we're crossing the railroad tracks is not changing, primarily, again, being dictated by MDOT and the railroad.
Right. Thank you.
So Dean, the dressing rooms, are they going to extend wider than what the existing pavilion is?
Yep.
They look like they're going out over the rocks and the water.
Oh, no, they won't be going towards the lake. They'll be going
out? Okay.
They'll be coming out, if you can, sorry, flip back to that plan for me.
They tucked behind them.
They will be coming out, there we go, approximately, if I can point to this one. This is, we've got an existing column here already, and we've got another column out here. We are not coming any farther past the front of that. This is where the current brick enclosure is, and we are bumping it out here.
Okay.
And what it does is it really should not impact sight lines at all with the new seating.
Okay. I did have one other question. When you were talking about the elevation of the now single floor, you said it was 16 inches up?
It is approximately 16 inches up from the lowest spot in the front. Yep.
but there's not going to be a step there. Anybody can get up there, right?
There will be ramps on each side. It is ramped. Both sides of this are ramped. There are steps up the front, but then it is also ramped on each side, so it's fully handicap accessible.
So the level is going to be at the height of the highest step right now?
It's about the middle step.
Okay.
Yep.
So you're coming down and...
But there's not going to be any... Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
There won't be any intermediate steps on the platform itself any longer.
Right. There won't be any great places for skateboards across there anymore.
I hope not.
And the sound is in the middle, a house?
Yeah, it is set up. There is a spot for an enclosure for it, and that equipment is all portable and can be plugged in for each use. And that's one thing I did not address there. That's a good point. We will have additional sound and lighting, and there is a projection screen and a projector as part of this also, so we can do movies in the park.
Can you talk about the traffic flow and how much better it's going to be so people can see?
Oh, sure. Sorry. There we go. Currently, you've probably all been at performances when people are walking the park and there's really no good place to get around the audience, so people will cross between the performers and the audience. The intent was to improve on that. This walkway, which still comes through here, will be continued, and this will be enhanced for vehicle access to the pavilion. However, we are making sure that we have a walk around now so that if people are walking the park during a performance, they can get around. We're also including some dividers, some gates, so that during a performance, those walkways will be closed off and people will be directed around as they go through. Does that answer your question?
Mm-hmm.
And what about the sun protection?
There are 3 sunscreens included currently in the design. One would actually be over the sound enclosure, and 2 are in different, one basically on each side, which, again, if I can point to this, they are shown right here and right here.
Most of the public as well as you have a set timeline that this looks like this will be taking place?
Well, the excavator, we hope to get the contract signed in the next day or 2. That is virtually prepared. The excavator is planning to start this month, and the intent is to get as much of the excavation work done as we can, get it set so the footings can be placed for the building addition, so that the contractor can work on some of that during the winter, but also when we get to a point where weather dictates that they have to stop, that it has to be left in a safe condition, so for anyone walking through there, so we don't have a hazardous condition during the winter. But again, as weather permits in the spring, they'll pick up, and is going to be required to be done, as I said, by Memorial Day.
Thank you.
Dean or Marcus, can either one of you talk at all about the next phase?
Of the pavilion?
Yeah.
Well, this, what's before you tonight, includes everything. It's the whole kit and caboodle, including the kitchen sink. So the next phase is going to be, I should say, or the next activity is going to be to try to do what we can to solicit as much additional outside funding as possible to help make this truly a reality. We are confident that we'll be able to maybe do a little crowdfunding or some other activities to try to parcel off some pieces of this to try to garner some additional support. We're certainly grateful for Rotary and their continued support and advocacy for this. There's been over 6 figures already donated to the city for this project, and perhaps we'll be able to put another request in as well. But with respect to the different amenities that have been talked about for, as you mentioned, since before my kids were born, This includes all of them.
Okay. Well, the one that I'm actually referring to isn't.
Which one is it?
So it must have been thrown out somewhere.
Okay, which one is that?
But when the committee was meeting, we talked about putting maybe a cantilevered or some type of a
deck,
walkway
yep.
in the back.
Yep. And that has still been discussed as a future phase. We did not include it on the construction documents because we didn't want to confuse the contractors. It's not part of this project, but that was my understanding also, is that the next phase would include a deck walkway between the pavilion and the water.
I think we could look at some type of shoreline erosion control measures in that process because we have that issue back there.
Right, we actually met on site with Sue Conradson from the DEQ, and she didn't really see any problem with what we had to do back there. So I think it's very feasible. It's just not funded in this one yet.
Another thing to be funded.
Did you see the communication from MML that they just opened up another round of the placemaking grants?
I have. Well, and with respect to that, that would also be something we're going to try to get an implementation grant for our place plans project. I just wanted to mention, as part of the overall place plans concept, there was, if you recall, almost like another fishing pier and dock or marina that was shown. It's something still that's out there. It's not going to be a phase one type project, but it's definitely something that's been talked about in multiple public places, public improvement type projects that the city has before itself. So.
One other thing I'd like to mention, and I know it's not within the scope of this project, but although the MDOT and the railroad said, can't touch it, something really needs to be done about the walkway across the tracks, because people with walkers or crutches or wheelchairs have great difficulty getting to this wonderful venue. And so I don't know...
Are you referring to the, like the pedestrian crossing?
Yes.
Area?
Yeah.
Bruce can probably correct me, but that might be a capital improvements type project that the city would likely be responsible for. Is that right, Bruce? Are we responsible for maintenance of the pedestrian walkway?
Yeah. We are. And,
are you talking about getting across the railroad?
Yes.
Right, across the track.
Well, you can't cover them completely, but I just wonder if somebody could take a look at it and see if there's an improvement that we can make while we're working on this.
It's a difficult situation. We've ripped
Yeah, I know.
2 or 3 times now.
Okay.
The vibrations of training.
So Dean, maybe now's a good time to talk about the changes that are made here for the performers to get there. That might be a better option for persons with wheelchairs also.
Handicap accessible.
That is one of the things I mentioned, yes. That sidewalk, which goes basically from the south edge of the pavilion towards the restrooms, as part of this project, will be replaced with a thicker, wider sidewalk so that vehicles can be brought in to drop off equipment and things without wrecking the sidewalk. That's always been a question, is how do performers get their equipment in here? How do they set some of that up? And that was the intent.
Yeah, and I think we can certainly address that issue by maybe providing some more handicap parking space over here. But as we continue to work on a walkable community, a lot of the people that I've heard from are coming down from, Kirtland Terrace.
Yeah.
And so they're actually walking from their homes, so that wouldn't be an answer to that question. But thank you.
And I guess just to address that, we did have representatives from MDOT on site. Bruce and I met with them, and that was discussed, so hopefully we can address that in the future. I guess the one other thing I'd like to say as part of this is, obviously when you work on a community project, there is a lot of interest, a lot of involvement. I just want to commend this community. We got a ton of input. The discussion on the task force was exciting. There were a lot of ideas. It would have been nice to go even farther, but obviously dollars prohibit that. But just the excitement of seeing that come together as far as the community, working with staff, Marcus, Bruce, were very, very helpful on this, and we're just excited to see it go as well. So
Jerry Adams was really...
Jerry Adams, yeah, needs to be commended on that. So we're just thankful to be part of it as well.
Thank you. And I'm really excited to see that the two contractors are local contractors for the
So I'll make a motion to award the contract for the renovation of the City of Cadillac Rotary Performing Arts Pavilion to Orso Construction in the amount of $361,365, and I'd like to include a 5% contingency fee.
Support.
Sandy, could we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Shippers, Spolman,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Melama, Mayor Folkins.
Yes, motion carries.
Okay. This makes me really excited.
And now for another exciting topic.
Yes. Thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. For our next exciting topic, I'd like to introduce Jeffrey Dietland, our Utilities Director. He is going to go through a couple of slides he's put together regarding the water tower and where we're at. We are getting to a point where if we are going to embark on some form of a contest, we would need to kick that off in short order, and if not, that's okay too. We just need to sort of finalize our direction on how we would like to handle the tower. So Jeff, take it away.
Hello, Mayor, members of council. How you doing tonight? We're here to talk about the possible contest for the water tower painting, or maybe just painting the water tower. That's why I put the water tower painting contest question mark. I know we brought it up before and there wasn't a good push for it or against it. It just kind of was mentioned and stopped. So this is our current water tower. Well, this is our water tower even after we paint it. This is the water tower. You can see it's got the block lettering. It's fading. It's got some dirt underneath it. We actually have to paint the inside and the outside for the water, but we're looking what to do with it. We could keep the same but update the city logo. You know, should we keep the water tower exactly the same as it is now, just repaint it with the block letters, repaint it in that same color? Should we have an update to the existing tower and maybe put the new city logo on it, our current city logo? I guess it's been a few years since we took it. That would be the cheapest thing to do, to keep the same color and just update the logo. And I got some following pictures that are a mock-up of different tanks with our logo on it. This is obviously not our tower, but it's a very similar one. It's a light blue tank with the City of Cadillac logo on it. I must say we couldn't get the whole City of Cadillac logo. I know there's some small lettering around it, like a quality place to live, or I forget the exact other wording on it, but you'd have Cadillac, you'd have the wave, but some of the smaller wording we might have to lose because it wouldn't show on the tank.
So Jeff, would it be able to say City of Cadillac, Michigan, as it says now, or it says City of Cadillac on the top and then Michigan underneath?
That would be a question if it could just say Cadillac, or if we could actually get the smaller words in. I think right now our tower just says Cadillac on it. It doesn't say Michigan. And obviously, if you're driving, you know what state you're in, hopefully. So, or maybe you don't. I don't know. This is a lighter than our tank. You know, you might think that's our tank color, but that's actually a little bit lighter. This is our current tank color. It's faded, but that's more of the color it'd be if we went back to what our tank color should be.
Oh, wait, go back to the first one. I like the lighter one. Ooh.
A little more baby bluish there, and a little darker blue there. So, I mean, our tank has faded to be more that color right now, but when we started off, it was this color. So, it's been 20-some years since we painted it, so the sun fade. Next one, Cadillac on a white tank. So we could put you could do black lettering, the blue on it, and just paint the tank white and have Cadillac. So that's a few mock-ups we have, just showing a similar tank to ours with just the lettering our new city logo Cadillac on it. The other thing we could do is we could have, again, the contest. We could have two different, as I mentioned before, we could have two different choices where maybe the city designs, maybe we choose a design and we have maybe 5 of them and choose some color schemes and have the public choose which one they like. Or we could have a public design where the public actually designs what they want to see on the water tower. Council chooses the top 5, and then maybe we have a public vote, or maybe the council just chooses of the top 5 which one it is. You know, but there's 2 options of doing it.
Many options within those options.
Right. And we could have a different contest. You know, do we limitations? Do we have it open only to Cadillac residents, or do we, you know, open it up to other people? I mean, it's up to the council. Only blank colors can be used. How many colors do we want? 2, 3, 4. Obviously, the more colors you get, the more expensive it gets. Obviously, nothing obscene, nothing copyrighted. The more elaborate the design, the more money needed. I was talking to Dixon tank, and they said they, up in Kalkaska on their water tank, they had a local artist, when they first painted it, paint a nice picture of a brook trout on it, and he donated all his time, all the paint, everything. Well, come 15 years later, they go to repaint it, they hire somebody else to do it. It was 4 or 5 times the cost of a regular paint job if this other company would have came in and painted it. The only reason they had it to begin with was because the local artist actually did all the painting on it. So now if you go up there, they do have a fish design on the tank, but it's down to 2 or 3 colors, and it's not the bright, vibrant brook trout they used to have on their tower. So that's something we need to think about. And obviously we'd only paint the top half above the legs, and the lower legs, as we saw in the designs, would be a base color. What's next? Council needs to decide if we're going to do if we'll be doing a painting contest. You know, there is a time frame we want to bid this out in. We'd like to have this, we have a bid document now from Dixon. We need to fill in the specifics, what colors, what designs, when we want it done to bid it out. We'd like to bid it out in early December. That way the painting companies, the tower companies, they bid on these in the winter, and then they can arrange their schedule in the spring. If we wait too long, if we wait till March, they might be all full up next year, and you might not get your tower painted, because it takes about, I think, 6 weeks to paint a tower, because you have to build in rain days, and then they have to do stuff inside and outside, so it's a lot longer than you think, and they can only do so many of the crews. Council would have to, if we do a contest, the council would have to decide the contest winner at the last meeting in November. So we could get that bid document out in December and get it out to the public, or get it out to the bid so people can bid on it. And I guess that's my update.
And if you want us to bring the pictures, put the pictures back on, we can do that. That'll help with any conversation you'd like to have.
Yeah. No, that, again, that's the simplest way to go, is just to leave it like it, well, not leave it like it is, but change it a little bit, so. And we don't need to decide today, but we do have that December deadline out there, so obviously, you know, if, you know, the more time we can give artists to design something, the more time they have to design, so.
Just some additional food for thought here. You know, it's estimated that the cost of this project is going to be probably $300,000 plus.
Really?
Yeah, because remember, it's not just the outside of the tank, but it's also cleaning and painting the inside of the tank as well. So there's a lot that goes into it that you're not going to see. The other part to that is that estimate, as far as I understand, is based on a rather simplistic, you know, couple of color design. So if it is the desire of the council to look at getting into accepting, you know, drawings from other groups of folks from throughout the community, I think we're going to really need to limit it to just a couple of colors. And that brings us to why in the mock-up tonight we just simply, you know, photoshopped, if you will, our current city logo on the tank, given that it's pretty basic with respect to color combinations. and the design itself is not a very complicated one.
Okay.
But
I think it looks really sharp.
Can I see the next one again?
I think you can see the logo better on the other blue.
and then there's a white one as well.
Yeah, I don't like that one.
So,
That looks like spaceship.
now, some of the other things I did see, looking at a lot of tanks, a lot of cities, or maybe the cities build on the school grounds, but a lot of them have the city logos, the school logos on the tank. Yeah, the mascot. A lot, but I don't know if those tanks are on the school property proper, and so that's what they get out of it, but it will say city of whatever, and then they'll have of course we have multiple schools in our area, so.
It's so funny that the school superintendent just happens to be sitting here tonight.
That's why she's here.
My nurse,
So,
Any thoughts?
I really like this one.
I think that that logo is really sharp in comparison to the white that was up there.
I
Yeah.
honestly didn't think I'd like it with the
Yeah.
new logo, but as soon as you put it up there, I thought, oh, I like that.
and you can see the old one, it just has the block Cadillac letters on it right there, and
Very clean.
and so the new one, the new design is kind of more artistic right away, just that from the block letters, so.
You guys like that one? The second blue one? Everybody like the second blue one better?
Which blue one?
That one better?
The darker blue?
Not only that, you get a 2-for-1, so it's going to be
That's right.
You go. So for a while we'll have
Exactly.
So for a while we'll have this blue.
It satisfies both.
Yeah, I like this one too.
And
kind of looks like the sky. How do you think the inside of a ladder tower?
You drain it first. Oh, seriously, they have to drain it, they have to dry it, and then they paint it. And while they're doing that, we'll be pumping water onto the ground through our fire hydrants to keep the pressure up.
Actually, back in the 60s, my husband had that job when he worked for the city.
Wow. If there's no questions, I'll sit down.
Thank you so much. So,
I'll make a motion to, I don't know how to say this.
The motion would be to direct staff to put a bid document out that would provide us with
What this particular
design and
design, that color blue with the current city logo on it.
very sure.
Support. It's a good 2-for-1 deal, like you said, though.
Sandy, could we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Spillman?
Yes.
Stevens?
Yes.
Malama? Shippers? Mayor Filkins?
Yes, motion carries.
And I hope the other two council members don't mind us doing that without them here, but...
Okay.
Public comment on that?
I'm sorry.
Can I make public comment on that, please?
Sure.
get the confirmation with the other board members.
I think we should wait.
My name is...
You know, I'm sorry, I think we should wait till public comment. We're almost there,
No problem.
if that's okay with you? Okay, thank you. Okay, then the new item that we added to the agenda this evening with the FOIA appeal.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. As I mentioned earlier this evening when we added it to the agenda, we do have the ability, and the recommendation would be to bring this back on the 19th after we take public comment tonight, so that we can have the proper draft documents for you to also consider looking at this evening. But I would like to mention that we do have Mrs. Kimberly Mankey here tonight with respect to her FOIA appeal for information regarding the Chief of Police position and Director of Law Enforcement position, and the request for the receipt of documentation not previously provided on the application forms. Mrs. Mankey did address the City Council during the first opportunity for public comment, but it would be appropriate at this time as well to invite her back should she wish to reiterate her comments.
Okay, so then we'll just have comments,
Yep.
and then the rest of it will go to our next meeting?
That's correct.
Okay. Would you like to come forward again?
Hi, I'm Kimberly Mankey. Sorry about all the coughing tonight. I got the wonderful cold going on. All I'm asking for is, you don't have to give me names, addresses, phone numbers, just the qualifications of all the applicants and the FOIA that I had asked for. I don't need any of the personal information, just their education, their qualifications, that's it.
You don't want names?
No, just the qualifications of the applicants that you have turned down, just so that you could select someone. And there's a paper stated with an 8th grade education level. I'm not asking for any of their personal information.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Okay, all right. So also in our packet this evening, we have the minutes of the boards and commissions. We have the minutes of the Wexford County Airport Authority meeting that was held on September 9th, as well as the Planning Commission meeting that was held on August 18th.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I have a comment, I guess, about the minutes that I was wondering if I could get some clarification on, Marcus.
Which set?
Yeah, it's the Airport Authority. There was some comments made on page 4. And I'm not sure, but it looks like it was from Julie Theobald. It suggested that we invoice the city for their contribution to the airport. I don't know if that was written inappropriately or if it was supposed to say the county because she's representing the county. But then the other thing that had me, that I questioned also was the made us aware, meaning the Airport Authority, that the city and the county are considering appointing a voting member of their councils to the Airport Authority when a vacancy occurs. Had we had any discussion related to that?
I don't recall. I recall the council, I thought, appointed a member to the board, maybe within the last year. Does that?
What, our council?
I don't think so.
I don't think we have.
Well, I think we have it. It's a 7-member board. We appoint, you're probably talking about citizens. We appoint 3 citizens from the city, and then there's 4 from the county. I do know, I don't think the city's had a conversation. I've attended a few of their meetings, and I know there's been discussion on the county end that the agreement allows one of those members can be a county commissioner or a executive of the county. And I know that discussion's happened, but I'm not aware of the city having any of that discussion at all.
Yeah, because that's not a true statement if that's the case.
It might not be a bad idea since it's an authority, and if do we pay them? Are they in our budget?
They are.
Yeah.
They are. Yep, they receive significant financial contribution from the city and the county for sustaining their capital projects.
Okay.
The city does not have a voting member of our council, so a member of our council. I don't believe on any city authority that, to the best of my knowledge, so that would be like the CWTA, we do not have a voting member of council, but rather we appoint somebody to be in that position. And likewise, as Councilman Stevens, you mentioned, we appoint other members to be a part of their board.
Right.
So, nobody has talked to me about having a member of council.
So which one of these are city, Clark?
Clark would be.
Yeah.
So William Dumont, Bob Clark, and Fred Osborne are the three city.
I don't see Osborne on here.
Probably he was, they don't include the absence.
He wasn't in attendance. It looks like they have a problem with it taking minutes also. That was discussed in here.
Yeah, they, it was one of those deals where the person that was gone was appointed secretary.
Yeah.
And when he got back, he wasn't real overly excited about that, so they've been discussing that as well.
Okay.
But it is a 60-40, to answer your question too, the county's funding is a 60%, and then the city's a 40% funding. That's, I think what they were referring to there was possibly looking at a different time of year that we would give that contribution. We were talking about the invoicing, that they possibly, if they could, possibly receive that at a different time of the year.
Well, then we would just wait for them to ask us to do that, you think?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. All set then?
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, so at this time, we'll go ahead and open the floor for the second public comment. Again, if you would limit your time to 3 minutes, and when you come to the podium, if you would state your name, and then also write your address and your name on the sheet of paper.
I'm Robert Gammons. Concerning the water tower, I was at a meeting several months ago here, and we talked about, Jeff showed pictures of various tanks around the state and so on, and I had made a comment about when I was in the service on the military base, what we'd do is we'd let it out to the schools so the kids could design, every kid could be involved in it, could design. And what the schools would do is they would select 2 pictures from their school. Those pictures would be displayed at the NCO club, the officers club, and the BX, and people could vote on them. Whichever one got the most votes, that one would be selected to paint the tank. Now, I don't know if we can do that here in Cadillac or not, but I'm willing to sit on any organization that's willing to do that. I'm willing to participate and go to the schools and talk to the kids. We can select some colors, 2 or 3 colors or something like this that the kids could do. We could show them the pictures like we did today, and just kind of give the kids an opportunity. And several of the kids probably don't live here in the city, but at least they would be able to participate. But it would be a children's project, their project. We just pay for it. Thank you.
My name's still Kathleen Mary Williams, and I thank you for letting me speak. So I'm going to try one more time. When we pledge allegiance to both of the flags, about 18 or 20 words of prayer might mellow some hearts and get people closer together, because there's something about it when you pray, it kind of dissolves some kinds of anger, and too much of our country has left God out. So, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, seeing no one else, we'll go ahead and close public comment for this evening. And we will move to good of the order. And this evening, I guess I would just like to ask if either of you have anything for good of the order?
I have very little, so I'll go ahead and jump started. I meant to come here with KISS makeup on today. And I forgot all about it. Actually, I got tied up at work, and I don't know if I really would have anyway, but I do remember seeing pictures, because I did not live in this community at that time, of KISS. When they came, they actually met with the mayor and with city council, and they put on KISS makeup. So I was going to do it today, but maybe I'll do it this weekend.
They're not here yet. You still have time.
I thought it was a little bit early, and people would have really wondered if I'd fallen off of something. But yeah, it's an exciting week, and I hope the weather holds out and we have a great homecoming. Kind of exciting stuff going on. And then maybe, Marcus, you can address Michelle Strobel's concern during your good of the order, and hopefully somebody will be in touch with her if indeed she hasn't felt like she's been communicated with like she should be. Thank you.
Seeing that the superintendent's here too as well, I want to tell you the Cadillac schools, since they've started doing these parades on the Friday, and there's the time after, the students are a great representation of Cadillac. To see them gathered the way they do, there's been a lot of comments about how nice it is to have the kids around and how well they are in that big of a mass. And the kids' activities has been amazing to hear people talking about. I mean, that's one thing everybody has in common is your homecoming. And to hear all the stories of everybody, we're talking those in their 80s, all the way talking about homecomings in Cadillac, but specifically that one special one with KISS so many years ago. And so it's been really exciting, a neat opportunity for Cadillac to have people calling just to get copies of the posters or getting something that they could take as a collection item has been amazing. And so this is a really exciting time for Cadillac, and it's really neat to, for the students. As I said, we can all go back to our time in high school and remember how exciting it was and share it all together. So all the volunteers that have made this activities, not just the homecoming side, but the KISS activities, specifically Jim Neff, their hats off to him for allowing such a great thing for our community. And that's it.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. For anyone interested in seeing the schedule or getting information about all the homecoming-related festivities, simply visit CadillacMichigan.com. There's a link there to an itinerary of all of the related activities, especially regarding the KISS Tribute Band coming to our community, and the concert and the installation of a monument that will forever be, I guess, planted in the ground by the high school field, talking about what happened a number of years ago. With respect to Mrs. Strobel, indeed, over the last few years, I have had a couple of conversations with her, a very heartfelt story regarding her son's death. It is not unusual for a city manager to not have any knowledge of an ongoing police investigation, let alone an investigation that potentially could be something other than a suicide. In fact, in my role as city manager, I believe I explained to her that as much as I wish there was something I could do to try to help, that as city manager I can't get involved in a police investigation. It's just inappropriate for me, not being a police officer, to be involved in any type of investigation. With respect to being back in touch with the police department, I know that there was some communication with respect to her and at the time Lieutenant Balnick. I also know that there was some concern about certain things popping up on various social media channels. I couldn't tell you whether the communication between her and the police department continued, whether it would even have been appropriate for it to continue, given that the case itself was still open. I'm not sure whether the case's status is closed at this point or whether it's open at this point, but if it is an open investigation, it's possible that for any number of reasons the police department may have decided to not continue having conversations. And again, that wouldn't necessarily be unique, because I think every situation in and of itself is unique, and so I don't really have a lot much more to add to it, other than I'll certainly report to Chief Galnick tomorrow that it came up as a part of a public meeting tonight, and ask him to circle back or have somebody circle back with her accordingly if there's some additional information to share. So, I don't have any more comments. So.
Okay. Well, this evening I wanted to mention the opportunity that I had almost 2 weeks ago to sit at a local gathering of our health coalition. And they brought in a tremendous speaker, Dr. Nick, who is the medical director out in San Diego County. And this is a man who lost 270 pounds. He used to weigh 500 pounds. And he did it all by changing his lifestyle. He was a physician telling people to be fit and be healthy and live a good lifestyle. And he said he was a hypocrite. So he put on just a wonderful presentation, not only to the health summit in the morning, but he also went into our schools. And the kids absolutely embraced his personality and the message that he brought to this community. And as part of that, I got to present a proclamation to the summit and issue a Mayor's Fit City Challenge. And there's a lot of exciting stuff going on because of hard work by the Chamber, by the Health Department, and by the YMCA. And so there is information on the Health Department's website if you are at all interested. And being fit isn't just physically fit, but it's also mentally fit, financially fit, whatever it is that we can all look at in our lives and hope to make a little bit better. Let's make the next 100 days about that. The good thing that we saw here this evening, the presentation of the Rotary Pavilion project finally coming to fruition is so exciting. And I will just say that project is but one of the really great things that is going to be happening in this community. And I wasn't dancing on the table like Councilmember Spolman was, but that's what collaboration and a whole lot of spirit will do in a community, and I'm really proud of that. And finally, I still would like everybody to take the opportunity to look out on the Cadillac, City of Cadillac website and look for any opportunities that are there for you to serve on a board in a volunteer position. This week we did fill 2 more seats, which I'm really excited about, and they probably will come to our next meeting. But my goal is to have those seats filled 100%, because I truly believe that if people get involved from a volunteer perspective with the city, that may lead to other things. So that's all I have this evening.
Can I say one more thing?
Sure.
Thank you. I just want to give a little story about how long this renovation project has been in discussion for the pavilion, the Rotary Performing Arts Pavilion. That's the official name of it. Because I was a Rotarian president in 2007, and it is the role of the past president, so it was the following year, 2008, that the past president heads up the major project decision-making on what we're going to do and what we're going to try to raise money for at the auction. And I remember Bruce Ryder taking me aside and saying, Sherry, I want you to think about this. Maybe this is the year that we don't let out for other community organizations to put their request in. Maybe as Rotarians we take a look at making some upgrades to the pavilion. It was built in 1989. It's almost 20 years old now, and we've got some, it's really starting to show its age. And so it was Bruce Ryder who brought that to my attention, and we went down there and we started to look at it, and we took pictures of it, and there were nails coming up out of some of the wooden seats. There were cracks in the sidewalk. There were a lot of issues, and we thought, yep, this is what we need to do. And so we started having that conversation a long time ago, and just kept moving that forward little by little, and the Rotary has put a lot of resources into it along the way, more than that $80,000 that's written in the information for tonight, because they gave a considerable amount before and completed that restroom project also. So sometimes it takes a long time to get these big projects moving, and gosh, this is really exciting to take it from just having those little conversations to where it is now. And it, you know, it's totally out of my hands, obviously, but yeah, that's how that conversation started.
Well, it's going to be another community that's going to forever be grateful for our Rotary.
Another generation.
Yep.
Yep.
Mayor, members of the City Council, we are down a couple of council members this evening and don't have the necessary number to entertain going into a closed session. So
Oh, darn.
Okay.
after this part, we are done with official business on the
Okay.
agenda.
With that, I'll adjourn the meeting then. Thank you.
Thank you.